How's everybody doing? Welcome back to New York 1-to-1. I'm I Think You Know, and in today's episode we'll be taking a look at Chinatown and Canal Street in downtown Manhattan. And later in the live play we'll take a close look at what we built and talk about why this video took so darn long to get out. And let's first discuss the history of Canal Street and Chinatown. And I'll give you the history. I'm going to be a little ranty as well, and a little bit of pain today, and I kind of feel like it. Now, Canal Street, as you might imagine, is named that way because it was previously a canal. Funny how those things work, right? Well, it wasn't originally a canal, of course. It was originally a stream, or most of the route of a stream, a creek, connected to Collect Pond, which I believe we talked about in an earlier episode, but is essentially the original water source of very early New York. But of course, as New York grew as a city and became pretty industrialized, this Collect Pond became, basically a dumping ground for everything and became essentially an open sewage pit. So what the city tried to do was to drain that water away while they were building out a new water system, one of the best in the world. And they turned what is now Canal Street into the canal, but unfortunately it apparently wasn't engineered too well given the tech they had at the day, and it essentially turned into an open sewer. They then decked over it, and it essentially became a closed sewer, and wouldn't you know that living near a sewer, not that great. And the whole area kind of, fell into disrepair and disrepute, and became kind of a cheap place to be. And even till today, it is in a lot of ways a cheap part of Manhattan. But what it really is today, of course, if you've ever been to Canal Street, it is like the place to go if you want to buy cheap knockoff merchandise. Now, I'm not endorsing the purchasing of cheap knockoff merchandise. I think it furthers consumerism and is generally bad for the city, but certainly nothing against the people who are trying to make a living. But Canal Street has kind of a bad reputation because of that, and it's so funny that it happens openly despite New York spending umpteen billions of dollars on a useless police force. I'm sorry, did I say I was gonna rant? Yeah, I think I did. But it does have its own character, but to me, what bothers me the most about Canal Street, despite it having a variety of subway stations, which are all called Canal Street, which is always a little bit confusing. It's like, no, you want to take the 8th Avenue Canal Street, or no, you want to get on, the big transfer Canal Street. What we built earlier at the very beginning of this episode was the big complex at Canal Street, which is the JZ, 6, and NQRW trains, but it's really 4 platforms because that's where the NQ, and W trains split, with the N and the Q going to the bridge and the R and the W going downtown towards Cortlandt Street and Whitehall. But as I was saying, Canal Street has become it's not anymore the waste sewer that it used to be, but it certainly is a car sewer. And if you've ever been down to Canal Street, especially during rush hour, it's atrocious. It smells like exhaust. It's horrifyingly dangerous. It is the main route for people getting both to and from the Holland Tunnel and to and from the Manhattan Bridge. And essentially the way it's designed is almost like a strode, like essentially an urban highway. I believe it's 3 lanes in both directions most of the way, with parking. It has truck traffic, delivery traffic, tourist traffic. It's really a nightmare. It's terrifically unsafe, and I think it's pretty shameful that the city hasn't done something about it, because there is so many cool neighborhoods around there, like Chinatown, which we're going to get into next. Now, I'm only building a little bit of Chinatown right here. Go look it up online, but basically Chinatown is, in Manhattan at least, is really defined by it being multiple areas, and it's really now taken over what used to be more of Little Italy, as well as just kind of all the neighborhoods surrounding there. It's kind of all become a Chinatown, which is surprising considering that New York has 3 main Chinatowns actually, and I think Manhattan is not the biggest anymore. Flushing's is bigger now, I believe. That's Flushing's in Queens. The other Chinatown in New York is in Brooklyn in Sunset Park. But the Chinatown in New York is the original. And I thought for a moment while researching this video that I would try to say the name of Manhattan Chinatown in Chinese, but I decided that would be a terrible idea. I don't speak Chinese. and I'd probably be very terrible at trying to pronounce it. But Chinatown originally was settled mostly by Cantonese speakers early on, was later then occupied by a lot of Fujonese speakers, apparently in the 90s, although Wikipedia says that many of those are actually on the East Broadway side, which we built in a much earlier episode. And I think I talked about Chinatown a little bit then, but I probably didn't go into too much depth about it. But Chinatown does have those very nebulous borders, but it's a really great neighborhood. And I think what makes it so special is this particular portion that I'm building here today. This is the portion, it's like Bayard Street, Dower Street. I'm probably missing a couple of names there, but these are all very narrow streets. And during COVID in particular, they actually pedestrianized some of these, which is fantastic. I mean, this entire area should be pedestrianized, in my opinion. But, New York is very reticent to do that anywhere. But it's a really great area to be because not only do you have, Chinese restaurants there and stores which have been there for generations, but you also have this kind of new wave of interesting stores that people are trying to build. So it's really, if you're ever down in this part of Manhattan visiting as a tourist, absolutely go check it out. It is lively and fun, and the food is fantastic. I recently visited here with some friends, was taken along by a friend who knows the area really well and was able to show us all around, show us all the good spots. And we went for dim sum, and it was phenomenal, delicious food, but we went on one of those like 95-degree days and sat outside under like a plastic awning. It was brutal. But that's how you know the food is good. If you're willing to endure that to get some dumplings, the dumplings better be damn good, and they were. And that's what I love about New York. You can just hop on a train. You can be anywhere in the city in an hour or so, and you can experience a different culture entirely while still being within the bounds of your own city. So, I'm glad to see that Chinatown is bouncing back from COVID and, from some of the, terrible things that the people there had to endure during that. But it remains, one of the fixtures of downtown Manhattan, and I'm really glad that I got to build a portion of it today. We have the live play portion coming up in a little over 30 seconds here, and I just want to say that you should stick around to check that out. We'll be doing some really nice close-ups of this neighborhood, kind of showing how those narrow streets work, although I haven't gotten them to populate with people just yet, or at least not in time for the recording that I did. But you have to do what you can. I think having the Canal Street station really properly finished now, I need to add the NQRW to it, but that's going to make this area really pop within the game. And I hope to do some more episodes around here soon as well, finish off this area, but we'll talk about that more in a moment. Stick around for the live play. All right, and we're back here in the live play, and things are kind of chugging along right here. We'll explain what's going on there in a moment, but I didn't want to get into it in the early part of the video, but obviously been a very big gap between the last video and this one, probably 3+ weeks by the time I get this out. And that is actually because I've moved temporarily. I am home with my family. L's in chat, please. But it's only temporary. I'm working on a new situation to be back in the great city of New York, hopefully by the end of October. A little minor hiccup here, but absolutely will be worth it in the end. So if I sound a little funny, that's why, and it's certainly why it's taking me a little while to get this video out. One of the biggest issues I'm having right now is that I only have one monitor. Normally I have the game on one monitor, and then on the other screen I am looking at Google Maps, trying to really carefully copy the city as I do. Let's get you a nice close-up here of some of Chinatown. But without that monitor right now, I'm kind of like using my work laptop or, alt-tabbing back and forth, and it's not really the best for recording, but I think the footage that I shot for the time-lapse portion came out pretty good, though. I wasn't really sure that it would, and I kind of like how it ended up, so maybe this will be okay. It's very tough to change your workflow when you're really used to doing things a certain way. Another minor change I wanted to call out, and this will remain the case until I'm back in my new place and settled, is that this is a 1080p footage now. My 1440p monitors and storage, so I'm on the 1080p now, but I think it's good enough for a couple of months. We'll get by, and then we'll get back to 1440p. I've even had a thought to upgrade to 4K, but it doesn't really make sense for like anything else that I do. So I think I'll leave it at 1440p. That's good enough. But here is Chinatown, and I'm really liking the way that it came out. Using the really narrow streets thing makes a huge difference, and just being able to kind of peer down here. Now, I do wish I did look for a bit, and I wanted to try and find some better assets to lay down here, but I really couldn't find like good Chinatown assets, because this Chinatown in New York doesn't really have like, you know, big neon signs or things you might associate with like parts of actual Asia or parts of actual China, but it really just have awnings like this. So, you know, looking down this kind of block with the, you know, the market on the end, some of these great New York assets, to me that looks really good. And for some reason, not a lot of people walking around here. I don't know what's going on with that. One thing that is going on with that is that mass transit continues to need to get better. And I'm going to back out here real quick just to show you what is going on. My population's 189 and everyone's screaming for more people. I turned on the realistic population mod, which a lot of people have been asking for and I used in the past. And yeah, I wanted to give it a go. And the game is holding pretty steady right now. I'm still like not sure if I should keep it, because I don't know, like this number could get too high too fast and like crash the game out before we're able to build more. But what I think it does mean for sure is that moving forward here, we need to finish the rest of the highways here so all the road connections work and it balances the traffic load. I need to finish some of the subway lines to, again, help out with the people moving around. But I think what I really need to do most is just build residential, like build housing after housing after housing. So down in the comments, let me know what area of the city you'd like to see next. We can go to an area we haven't been to yet, or we can finish something that we've started working on and never completed, like, I don't know, all these random blocks here in the Lower East Side, or the rest of the East Village, or I don't know, so much. It's a huge map. These are the times where I'm like, did we bite off more than we can chew? It's entirely possible, but if the game does get to that point, we'll build as much as we can. We'll do some fun videos. And then the last thing I want to show you today before we finish up here is, nope, not that, just this. I fixed the one train. So the one train was not working for whatever reason previously, even though we had built it in a much earlier episode. Go check it out if you haven't. And it's working now. So here's a one train actually right here pulling through. Oh no, sorry, wait, that's a 2 or 3 train. The one train's down here. But for some reason it wasn't working, even though it's like would normally be, given what we've built so far, be very popular. So it's working now, and hopefully that'll help out with the traffic. But putting in the realistic population mod meant that, like, obviously people need to stream into the city, and look at the traffic backed up. Look, wait, actually let me get out of this. Look how badly backed, the traffic's basically backed up to the edge of the map, which is not good. But hopefully it'll clear itself out soon. Things will balance out. That's probably why you don't see any people walking around here yet. And we'll keep working on it in the future. So I want to thank you all, as always, for stopping by. Please hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, because it really helps the channel out. Thank you all so much. Have a nice day. Bye.